Hi everybody, so today's presentation is on Apple, Microsoft, and Google and the differences between all of them. So to start off with the objectives of this presentation, firstly, it's to decipher the difference between the most common computer, phone, as well as tablet operating systems. This includes comparing macOS and Windows computers, as well as iOS and Android tablets and smartphones. Also, to decipher between the physical products that these operating systems work on. And lastly, to establish what kind of usage each operating system and products are best suited for. To start off, what is an operating system? An operating system is the software that runs a computer, tablet, or phone's basic functions. It is software that communicates with the hardware of a device to create a functional and responsive piece of technology for usage. Firstly, computers. The two most prominent and common operating systems when it comes to computers, both laptops and desktops, are macOS as well as Windows. macOS is the operating system that was developed and is used exclusively for Apple devices. On the other hand, Windows is the operating system which was developed by Microsoft, which can be found on basically any other type of personal computer other than Apple products. So for example, HP, Lenovo, Microsoft, Dell, Acer, etc. To start off with the comparisons, firstly the differences between macOS and Windows. Though the two operating systems offer the same functionality, which is basically just that it allows you to access different applications as well as the internet, they look, feel, and work slightly differently. So you can see here with the two screenshots below, the one on the left is from a Mac OS and the one on the right is from a Windows computer. And you can see just from the look that these two devices are very different from each other. Now the differences. Firstly, for macOS, starting off with its design. It has softer edges, a simpler and more monochromatic look. Its navigation is best recognized for its dock system, as you can see here on the bottom bar in this screenshot. For its files, it has a Finder, which is used by macOS, and it is not too different from File Explorer on a Windows device. For integration, it is known to be better integrated with other devices because if you stay within the Apple family, you can very easily connect many of your devices across the board and have the same information and applications on the devices. And lastly, for security, it is generally seen as a safer device as Apple has full control of both hardware and software, which means that it is easier to implement new security features and updates. Next, for Windows devices. To start off with its design, it has squares off edges, clean cut design, and lots of blue, which are also more customizable. For navigation, rather than having the Finder, it has the Start menu, and it is the main fixture of the Windows navigation. As you can see in this screenshot to the right, this is the navigation panel. For files, it has File Explorer, which is similar in functionality to Finder. And for integration, it is only available through computers, so sometimes there are some differences with actually integrating them across the board, though there are ways to easily do this, which we can also talk about more in breakout rooms. And then for security, there are a few gaps between the hardware and software, and that can leave a bit more room for error, which means that extra antivirus may be needed and is usually necessary with Windows devices. Though if you aren't comfortable with having a third-party application running on your computer, there's also Windows Security, which is a part of its system, and it can be easily enabled, which we can also walk you through in the breakout rooms if you are interested. Next, what each is best for. Firstly, macOS. Many people find this better because of its simple design, which makes it easier for a lot of people to navigate it and do what they need to do. Especially those in creative fields believe that Apple is better for their needs because it is better suited for a lot of the creative software that they use in order to edit and design and create videos and photos. As well, operating system integration across Apple products also means that they are for people who move around a lot and may switch between devices. For example, if you have an iPhone, an iPad, and a computer, and you want to be moving across all of your devices. Next, what Windows is best for. Windows has many more customization options, particularly in terms of appearance. So if you're really interested in changing the way your computer looks to be exactly the way you want it, it's easier to do so with a Windows device. It also runs on basically any computer that is not an Apple computer, which means that there are more options for your actual physical device. As well, Windows is particularly suited for gaming if that's something you're passionate about, and also with Office Suite being Microsoft built, it may also be argued that Windows is best suited for those looking to use the computer for more practical purposes. Next, I will be going into the hardware, firstly for Macs. And when it comes to hardware Mac OS, it only operates on 3 devices. Firstly, the MacBook Air, which is one of Apple's 2 laptop options. The MacBook Air is very small and portable and light, and they are not as powerful as other Mac products, making them best suited for casual computer users. Then the other option is the MacBook Pro, which is Apple's more powerful laptop option, and it comes in 2 physical sizes with multiple RAM sizes. And this is best for people using more software, but who still want it to be portable for their own needs. And then lastly, the third option is iMac, which is Apple's only desktop computer, which comes in 2 sizes. It is best for at-home use as it is a very large desktop, and it is good for heavy-duty use as well. It is especially favored among creatives using powerful softwares for things such as sound, video, and photo editing and design. Here are the 3 different options that I just briefly explained. Firstly, the MacBook Air, which is the lighter and more portable version, the slightly more software and a little heavier version is the MacBook Pro, and the iMac is the desktop version, which is here, and it is much larger and more heavy duty. Next, the hardware for PCs. When it comes to hardware, there are basically endless options if you want to use the Windows operating system because there are so many brands that run their devices on Windows. This includes Microsoft, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Acer, Asus, MSI, as well as Samsung. So there are many, many options. Some examples of these options include Microsoft Surface, which is here, the Lenovo ThinkPad, and also the Dell Inspiron, which is one of the desktop computers here. So as you can see, they're not as similar as the Macs are because there are so many different brands that run on this operating system, and they are all different brands as well. Now a brief overview for computers. The best way to describe the difference that is present between Macs and PCs is that they are similar to 2 different ways of thinking. Macs are seen trendier and in some cases cooler, whereas Windows computers are seen more as by the books and square and basic. And this is just a matter of how they have marketed themselves to attract different user bases and target markets. In reality, if you are using a computer to simply access the internet, either using a Mac or Windows computer will be able to do it just the same. The difference really comes down to personal preference for the look as well as the feel for each product. Now for phones and tablets. Just like with computers, there are basically only 2 competitors for OS when it comes to phones and tablets. And these are iOS, which is again Apple, and then also Android, which is Google. For iOS, this is the operating system developed and used exclusively by Apple for both iPhones and iPads. There's also the Android, which is the operating system developed by Google, which can be found on basically any other type of phone or tablet, including Google phones and tablets, Samsung, LG, Motorola, Nokia, etc. Now the comparison between iOS and Android. As with computers, the two operating systems offer the same functionality, which allows you to use your device for calling, messaging, and also give you access to different applications from the app stores that they provide, as well as the internet. But they look, feel, and work a bit differently. So again, we can see this through the screenshots on the screen. The first one is from an iPhone, and the second one is from an Android phone. And you can see that they have different home screens. The apps are slightly different, though you can have many similar apps between these devices. The setup is quite different. Now for the differences. Starting with iOS. It's closed system, which means that its interface will look and work the same across all iOS devices. For its eStore, iOS uses the Apple Store, which will mostly be the same, but some different apps than the Play Store, which is on the Android devices. For integration, if you have Apple for all of your devices, integration across them is very seamless using your Apple ID, account, and also iCloud, which makes it very easy to use and integrate between all of your different devices. Then for the voice assistant, it has someone named Siri, and this is available on iOS, though it is less powerful than its counterpart to Android devices. Next, for Androids, it has an open system, meaning that Android is open source and different products can adjust to fit their hardware, and it may look different on a Samsung than a Google phone, for example. For its eStore, Android uses the Google Play Store, which will mostly be the same, though it has some different apps than the App Store does on Apple devices. And then for integration, when you're integrating with other devices, it has to happen through some sort of cloud storage program like Google Drive or OneDrive because it does not have the same concept as iCloud and Apple ID as the Apple devices do, though you are able to have integration between your devices. And lastly, for voice assistant, Android uses Google Assistant, which is more powerful than Siri, which is on the Apple devices. Now what each is best for. Making a choice between these options really comes down to firstly the integration. This is especially among Apple products because iCloud makes it easier to connect your devices to other devices, as well as iMessage and FaceTime, which offer easy communication between you and other Apple users. There is no equivalent for iMessage on Android, though there is Google Duo, which is comparable to FaceTime. Then there's also the physical device, which differs. For many, the OS plays less a part in their buying decision with phones and tablets than does the physical product. And lastly, the camera. Many devices are in a constant race to have the best camera, and this may influence your decision between which device you buy. The hardware between iPhones and iPads. When it comes to the hardware, iOS only operates on two devices. Firstly, here is the iPhone, and secondly, the iPad. Next is the hardware for Samsung, Google, LG, etc. And when it comes to hardware, there are basically endless options if you are looking for an Android, because all of the following brands run their phones and tablets on Android. This includes Google, Samsung, LG, Motorola, Nokia, and Lenovo. Here are some of the options for Samsung, Google, and LG. So here's the Samsung Galaxy tablet here. Then there's also the Lenovo tablet and even a Google Pixel phone here. So these are all examples of the Android devices. And as you can see, again, there are many more differences between these devices than there are between the Apple ones that are available. Now an overview of the smartphones and tablets. Many people who are Apple users prefer to stay within their lane when it comes to both their phones and their tablets, just because of the consistency between the devices. But when it comes to phones and tablets, many people believe that the physical device is more important than the actual operating system within the device. As well, the strongest competition between these devices comes down to their camera quality, and who's at the top of this chart changes from year to year. So currently the standings are that for this particular order, it is iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, and Google Pixel that are mostly comparable and are at the top of the competition.